The tunnels beneath the Zothran space station smelled like death and chemicals. Steam hissed from broken pipes, and toxic waste dripped down metal walls that had turned green with corrosion. This was where the Forgotten Ones lived. This was where specimen 7719 called home. She crawled through a narrow passage, her damaged shell scraping against the metal. Her body was covered in burned scars and discolored patches where radiation had eaten through her protective coating. Other Krell had smooth, colorful shells that shimmered under light. Hers looked like melted plastic. Marked by years of touching things that should never touch living skin, 7719 reached into a pool of bubbling acid without hesitation. Her hands had lost most of their feeling years ago. She pulled out a broken component, studied it for a moment, then tossed it into her collection bag. The station threw away perfectly good parts just because they touched contaminated materials. She had learned to salvage them, clean them, and use them to survive. "Filthy creature," a voice echoed from above. "Stay down there where you belong." 7719 looked up to see 3 pure-cast Krell workers peering down through a grate. Their shells were beautiful shades of blue and purple, unmarked and clean. They wore protective suits even though they stood in a safe zone. Just looking at her made them uncomfortable. She said nothing. Speaking to higher castes was forbidden for someone like her. She had no name, no rights, and no future beyond these tunnels. The Krell Society had made that clear since the day she was born with a shell that was slightly off color. That small imperfection had sentenced her to a life in the waste zones. The workers moved on, their disgust evident in how quickly they left. 7719 returned to her work. She had discovered something interesting in the deep tunnels where even other outcasts refused to go. The toxic materials flowing through the pipes followed patterns. If she redirected certain chemicals, so they would neutralize each other instead of becoming more dangerous. Nobody had taught her this. She had learned by watching, by surviving, by understanding that the universe followed rules even in the darkest places. She had turned her section of the tunnels into a complex maze of redirected flows, making the entire station's waste processing more efficient without anyone realizing it. Hours passed as she worked. Time felt different in the tunnels. Days and nights blended together in the constant dim emergency lighting. She had just solved a particularly difficult chemical blockage when she heard something unusual. Footsteps. Heavy ones. Not Krell. 7719 froze. Aliens rarely came to the lower levels. When they did, it meant inspections, and inspections meant punishment for outcasts who were seen. She pressed herself against the tunnel wall, trying to become invisible. "The efficiency readings are coming from this sector," a voice said in Galactic Common. "But according to the station records, this area is completely automated." The footsteps came closer. 7719 held her breath, which was difficult because the air in this section was already thin. She could see a light bouncing off the tunnel walls, coming toward her position. Then she saw him. A human wearing a basic environmental suit, holding a scanner that beeped softly as it analyzed the air. He was tall by Krell standards, with strange smooth skin visible through his helmet's faceplate. His eyes were a warm brown color that reminded her of the Earth she had seen in salvaged pictures. Dr. Marcus Webb had been on the station for 3 days. Nothing made sense. The waste reclamation numbers were impossible. The station was processing toxic materials at a rate that should require advanced AI systems and equipment worth millions of credits. But the station's records showed only basic automated systems in the lower levels. He followed his scanner deeper into the tunnels. Ignoring the warnings from station management about contaminated zones, he had worked in worse places during the colony wars. A little radiation did not scare him. That was when he saw her at first. He thought it was a pile of damaged equipment. Then it moved. A Krell female, smaller than the workers he had met on the upper levels, with a shell that looked like it had been through a war. She was pressed against the wall, clearly terrified. "Hey," Marcus said softly, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. "I'm not here to hurt you." 7719 bolted. She scrambled through a gap in the pipes that was too small for the human to follow, her heart pounding so hard it hurt. No one came down here. No one cared about the outcasts. If he had found her, It meant trouble. She did not stop running until she reached her shelter, a small space she had carved out behind a broken heat exchanger. She collapsed inside, shaking. The human had looked at her, not with disgust like the Krell, with curiosity, maybe even concern. That scared her more than hatred. Marcus stood in the tunnel, watching where the Krell had disappeared. His scanner was showing incredible things. The chemical flows in this section had been manually optimized. Someone had created an elegant solution to waste processing using nothing but redirected pipes and precise timing. It was genius-level work, and that terrified. Scarred creature had been working here, alone, without protection. He checked his scanner again, tracking back through the tunnel system. Every optimization point led to areas that should kill an unprotected Krell within hours. Yet she had been working in them. How long had she survived down here? How had she learned to do this? Marcus made his way back to the surface, his mind racing. He filed his daily report, carefully leaving out what he had seen. Then he returned to his quarters and assembled a package. A sealed environmental suit, sized for a small Krell, a medical scanner, and a datapad loaded with basic chemistry and engineering texts. That night, he returned to the tunnels and placed the package outside the gap where the Krell had disappeared. He left a simple message on the datapad. "You are brilliant. Please take these. No obligation. No strings attached." Then he left. The next morning, Marcus returned to the spot. The package was gone. He felt relief flood through him. But then, he noticed the datapad sitting on a pipe nearby. He picked it up and found a new file had been created. Inside was a molecular formula, complex, elegant, and completely revolutionary. It showed a way to process 3 different types of toxic waste simultaneously, turning them into usable fuel. The solution was so simple that Marcus felt stupid for not seeing it himself. At the bottom of the file was a single line of text. Written in shaky letters as if the writer was not used to typing, "Thank you for not screaming."
Marcus smiled.
Then he sat down right there in the tunnel and typed a response. "I have more questions. And more supplies. Can we talk?" He waited for an hour, but no response came. Finally, he left the datapad and returned to the surface. He had work to do. If someone that brilliant was living in those conditions, he was going to find a way to help her, even if it meant challenging the entire Krell social system and her shelter. 7,719 read the human's message over and over. No one had ever asked to talk to her before. No one had ever called her brilliant. No one had ever cared whether she lived or died. She looked at the environmental suit hanging in the corner. It fit perfectly. For the first time in her life, she did not feel the constant burn of chemicals on her skin. Maybe, just maybe, she thought. Maybe this human was different. She began typing a response, her damaged hands moving slowly over the keys. She had so many questions, and for the first time in her life, she had hoped that someone might actually answer them. Part 2, the first gift for 2 weeks. Marcus and the mysterious Krell exchanged messages through the datapad. He would leave it in the tunnel with a question or a problem he was working on. She would respond with solutions that were so creative, they made him rethink everything he knew about waste processing. But she never showed herself. And she never told him her designation number. Marcus learned things slowly. She had lived in the tunnels for most of her life. She had taught herself chemistry by observing what killed other outcasts and what did not. She had no formal education, but had learned to read by studying warning labels on containers. She had survived 9 years in conditions that should have killed her in 9 days. "Why do you help me?" she wrote one day. "I am contaminated. Association with me will make you unclean in Krell society." Marcus typed his response carefully. In human society, we have a saying. We judge people by their actions and their character, not by their appearance or their birth. You have shown more intelligence and resourcefulness than most educated scientists I know. That matters more than what anyone else thinks. There was a long pause before her response came. What is character? That question broke Marcus's heart. He spent the next hour writing about ethics, dignity, and human rights. He told her about Earth's history, its It's about how humans had once judged each other by skin color and birth, and how they had learned that this was wrong. He told her that every thinking being deserved respect and opportunity. Her response was simple. I do not understand, but I want to. From that day forward, Marcus did not just leave engineering problems. He left books, stories, history, philosophy, anything he thought might help her understand that the life she was living was not the life she deserved, and she absorbed it all, like a sponge absorbing water. 3 weeks after their first encounter, disaster struck the station. Marcus was in the main control room when the alarm started blaring. A containment vessel in the deep processing levels had ruptured. Radiation was flooding into 3 sectors, and the automatic systems were failing to contain it. If it reached the main reactor, the entire station would have to be evacuated. Get everyone out of the lower levels, the station commander shouted. Seal the contaminated sections. Wait, Marcus said, studying the readings. If we seal those sections now, the pressure will build up and blow out the hull. We need to redirect the flow. It's impossible, a Krell engineer said. The valves are in the radiation zone. No one can survive in there long enough to make the adjustments manually. Marcus looked at the schematics. The radiation zone included the tunnels where his mysterious friend lived. His blood ran cold. What about the outcasts who live down there? The Krell engineer looked uncomfortable. They are already lost. We must save the rest of the station, Marcus said firmly. He grabbed an emergency radiation suit. I am going down there. How? You will die, the engineer said. Even in that suit, you have maybe 15 minutes before the radiation cooks you from the inside. Then I better work fast, Marcus said, and ran for the access shaft. The tunnels were a nightmare. Radiation alarms screamed from his suit. Steam filled the air, making it hard to see. Marcus followed his scanner toward the main valve, knowing he was probably going to die down here. Then he saw her. The scarred Krell was already at the valve, her damaged hands working the manual controls. She had no suit, no protection at all. The radiation was so intense that Marcus could see it glowing in the air around her. She should have been dead already. Stop, Marcus shouted, running toward her. Get back. You will kill yourself. 7719 turned and saw the human running toward her in his protective suit. Go back, she said, the first words she had ever spoken to him directly. Her voice was rough, damaged by chemical exposure. This radiation will kill you. It only makes me sick. I can fix this. Not alone you cannot, Marcus said, coming to stand beside her. Tell me what to do. For a moment, 7719 just stared at him. No one had ever voluntarily stood beside her. No one had ever chosen to risk death to help her. You will die, she whispered. Maybe, Marcus said, his hands already moving to help with the valve. But I am not leaving you alone. Now how do we stop this thing? Something changed in 7719's eyes. She gave a quick nod and started pointing out valves and pipes. Close that one first. Then redirect the flow through the secondary system. We need to create a circulation loop to cool the radiation before it spreads. They worked together, the human and the outcast, in the heart of the deadly radiation. Marcus's suit alarms were screaming. His skin felt like it was burning. But 7719 moved with confidence. Her damaged body somehow resistant to radiation that would have killed most species instantly. How are you surviving this? Marcus gasped as they forced a massive valve closed.
Ow!
My shell is already damaged, 7719 said simply. The radiation has nowhere new to hurt, and I have been exposed so many times that my body learned to repair itself. Or maybe I am just too stubborn to die. Despite the danger, Marcus laughed. Stubborn. I like that. It took them 23 minutes to redirect the flow and stabilize the containment. 23 minutes that felt like hours. When the radiation levels finally started to drop, Marcus collapsed against a pipe. His body shaking, 7719 knelt beside him. Are you hurt? Probably, Marcus said. But we did it. We saved the station. You are foolish, 7719 said, but her voice was gentle. "You risked your life for someone like me?" Marcus looked at her, really looked at her for the first time. Past the damaged shell and the scars, he saw the intelligence in her eyes, the strength in how she held herself, the kindness in how she had warned him to leave even while she stayed to fix the crisis. "I risked my life for someone brilliant and brave," Marcus said. "Now, help me get back to the surface before I pass out." They made their way slowly through the tunnels, 7,719, supporting Marcus when his legs grew weak. As they walked, Marcus asked her something that had been on his mind. "Never told me your designation? What do they call you?" 7,719 was quiet for a moment. "Specimen 7,719. I do not have a name. Outcasts are not given names." Marcus felt anger burn through him, hotter than any radiation. "That is wrong. Everyone deserves a name." "I do not understand." 7,719 said. "What is the purpose of a name?" "A name says that you matter," Marcus explained. "That you are a person, not a number. That you have value beyond what you can do for others." They reached the access shaft that led to the upper levels. 7,719 stopped there, unwilling to go further. "I cannot go up there. It is forbidden." "Would you like a name?" Marcus asked suddenly. "I could give you one, if you want." 7,719 looked at him with an expression he could not read. "Why would you do that?" "Because you deserve one," Marcus said simply. "How about Kira?" It is from an old Earth language. It means bright or shining, because your mind shines even in the darkest places. For a long moment, 7,719 said nothing. Then, very quietly, she whispered, "Kira, I am Kira." "Yes," Marcus said, smiling. "You are Kira, and I am Marcus. Nice to officially meet you." Kira helped Marcus into the access shaft. As he started climbing, he heard her voice one more time. "Thank you, Marcus, for my name, and for seeing me." "Thank you for saving my life," Marcus called back. "This is not over, Kira. I am going to find a way to get you out of these tunnels." He climbed toward the light, his body aching, but his heart full of purpose. Behind him, in the darkness, Kira stood alone. But for the first time in her life, she did not feel lonely. She had a name. She had a friend. And somewhere deep inside, she had hope. When Marcus reached the control room, he found the entire command staff waiting. The station commander looked at him with a mixture of relief and anger. "You saved the station," the commander said. "But you violated protocol by entering a contaminated zone." "Someone else saved the station," Marcus said firmly. "One of your outcasts. She knew exactly what to do and had the courage to do it. Without her, we would all be dead." The Krell officers looked uncomfortable. The commander's antenna twitched with irritation. "The outcasts are there to process waste. They did what they were designed to do." "She is not a thing," Marcus said, his voice hard. "She is brilliant. She is brave. And she deserves better than living in toxic tunnels." "Do not presume to lecture us about our own people," the commander said coldly. "The caste system has maintained order for thousands of years." Marcus met the commander's eyes. "Then your system is thousands of years overdue for change." The tension in the room was thick. Finally, the commander spoke. "You are tired and radiation sick. We will discuss this when you have recovered. Return to your quarters." Aquas wanted to argue, but his body was failing. He had absorbed too much radiation. He needed medical treatment. But as he left the control room, he made himself a promise. He was going to find a way to help Kira, no matter what it took, no matter who he had to fight, because she had given him a gift more valuable than saving his life. She had shown him that genius and goodness could exist anywhere, even in the darkest tunnels, even in someone that society had labeled as worthless. And he was going to make sure that Galaxy knew it. Part 3. Breaking barriers. Marcus spent 3 days in the medical bay, being treated for radiation exposure. The doctors said he was lucky to be alive. He told them that luck had nothing to do with it. Courage and a brilliant engineer had saved him. While he recovered, filed report after report about Kira. He documented her intelligence, her work in the tunnels, and her potential. He sent messages to human authorities, to the Galactic Science Council, and to anyone who might listen. Most ignored him, but some listened. On the fourth day, a message came through official channels. Human labor laws applied to any being working on a station where humans held contracts. If Marcus could prove that Kira was an employee and not station property, she would be protected by those laws. Marcus smiled. He had found his loophole. He went straight to the station commander's office, still walking with a slight limp from the radiation treatment. The commander looked up from his work with clear annoyance. "Dr. Webb, I thought we agreed you would rest." "I am hiring an assistant," Marcus said, placing a contract on the commander's desk. "For my waste management research, the position is open to any qualified candidate, regardless of species or background." The commander's antenna flattened against his head, a sign of Krell anger. "You cannot be serious." "Completely serious," Marcus said. "And I have already selected my candidate. Specimen 7719, or as I call her, Kira. She has demonstrated exceptional ability in waste processing and chemical engineering." "She is an outcast," the commander hissed. "She is contaminated. She is property of this station." "She is a person," Marcus said firmly. "And under human labor law, which applies to this station, due to our contracts, I have the right to hire her. Unless you want to explain to the Galactic Labor Board why you are refusing employment to a qualified candidate based on her appearance." The commander's shell darkened with rage, but he was trapped and he knew it. Breaking human labor laws would mean losing human contracts. That would cripple the station's economy. "Fine," the commander said coldly. "Take your pet outcast. But do not expect any Krell to acknowledge her new status. She is still filth. In association with her will mark you as filth as well." "I can live with that," Marcus said. He took the signed contract and left before the commander could change his mind. Finding Kira was easy. She was back in her tunnels, working as if nothing had changed. When Marcus climbed down to her shelter, she looked up in surprise. "Marcus, you should be resting." "I have been resting for 4 days," Marcus said. "That is enough. I have something for you." He held out the contract. Kira looked at it, confused. "What is this?" "A job offer," Marcus said. "I am hiring you as my research assistant. It comes with quarters on the upper levels, proper food, medical care, and a salary. You would work with me on developing new waste processing systems." Kira stared at the document like it might explode. "I cannot go to the upper levels. I am forbidden." "Not anymore," Marcus said gently. "This contract makes you my employee. Human labor laws protect you now. The station cannot force you to stay in the tunnels." "But I am contaminated," Kira whispered. "I am unclean. I will pollute everything I touch." Marcus knelt down so he was at her eye level. "Kira, listen to me. You are not contaminated. You are a survivor. You are brilliant. And you deserve to live somewhere with clean air and safe water." Tears formed in Kira's compound eyes, though Krell did not cry the way humans did. "They will hate you for this. The other Krell will see you as polluted." "Let them," Marcus said. "I would rather be hated and do the right thing than be accepted and abandon someone who deserves help." Kira looked at the contract again, her damaged hands trembling. "What do I do?" "Sign here," Marcus said, pointing to a line. "And then we go upstairs. Together." Kira made a mark on the contract with shaking hands. The moment she did, Marcus felt a surge of triumph. He had done it. He had found a way to get her out of those tunnels. "Come on," he said, offering his hand. "Let me show you your new quarters." Kira stared at his hand for a long moment. No one had ever offered to touch her willingly. Slowly, carefully, she placed her damaged hand in his. Marcus did not flinch, did not pull away, did not show any disgust. He just smiled and helped her to her feet. They walked through the tunnels together, heading for the access shaft. As they climbed, Kira kept looking back, as if expecting someone to stop them. But no one did. When they emerged onto the main residential level, Krell workers stopped and stared. Some backed away in horror. Others hissed in disgust. A few actually ran. But Marcus kept walking, Kira beside him, till they reached his research quarters. He opened the door and gestured for her to enter. Kira stepped inside and froze. The quarters had windows. Real windows that looked out at the stars. There was a bed, a desk with a computer terminal, and a bathroom with running clean water. The temperature was comfortable. The air was fresh. It was the most beautiful place Kira had ever seen. "This is where I live," Marcus said. "But I requisitioned the quarters next door for you. They are identical to these. Come on, I will show you." He led her to the adjacent door and opened it. The room beyond was empty, but clean and bright. Kira walked in slowly, touching the walls as if they might disappear. "This is mine?" she whispered. "This is yours," Marcus confirmed. "You can decorate it however you want. Make it your home." Kira walked to the window and pressed her damaged hands against the glass. Outside, stars glittered in the eternal night of space. She had never seen them clearly before. The tunnels had no windows. "I do not understand," she said quietly. "Why are you doing this?" "What do you want from me?" "I want you to reach your potential," Marcus said. "I want you to learn and grow and show the galaxy what you are capable of. That is all." Over the next few weeks, Marcus began teaching Kira formally. He discovered that her self-taught knowledge had gaps, but her ability to learn was astounding. She absorbed chemistry, physics, and engineering principles at a rate that left him amazed, but she also struggled with things that should have been simple. She did not know how to use a bed properly. She hoarded food in her quarters, afraid it would disappear. She flinched every time someone approached her. The years in the tunnels had left scars deeper than the ones on her shell. Marcus was patient. He taught her about human customs, about social interaction, about the fact that she did not have to earn her right to exist. Slowly, very slowly, Kira began to relax. She also began to shine. 2 months after she started working with Marcus, Kira developed a revolutionary new recycling process. It could take 3 different types of toxic waste and convert them into clean energy with almost no harmful byproducts. The efficiency was incredible. The potential applications were endless. Marcus was thrilled. He immediately arranged a presentation to the station council, making sure to credit Kira as the primary developer. He thought this would prove her worth, show everyone that she deserved respect. He was wrong. The presentation took place in the main council chamber. Marcus stood at the podium, Kira beside him, as he explained the new process. The human council members were excited, asking detailed questions. The representatives from other species seemed impressed, but the Krell counselors refused to even look at the screen when Marcus showed Kira schematics. "This is absurd," one of them finally said. "You expect us to believe that an outcast developed this? An untouchable with no education." "She did develop it," Marcus said firmly. "I can show you her calculations, her notes, her entire development process." "And you helped her," another Krell said dismissively. "You did the real work, and are giving her credit to make a political point." "That is not true," Kira said quietly. It was the first time she had spoken in the meeting. The Krell counselors actually recoiled, as if her voice had physically hurt them. "Do not address this council," the senior Krell counselor said coldly. "You have no right to speak here." Marcus felt his anger rising. "She has every right. She is the lead researcher on this project." "She is pollution given form," the counselor said. "Her very presence in this chamber is offensive. We demand her immediate removal from the station." "On what grounds?" Marcus demanded. "On the grounds that she is a danger to proper society," the counselor said. "She has left her designated area. She has contaminated upper-level quarters. And she has attempted to present herself as something she is not. These are all violations of station law." Marcus looked around the chamber. The non-Krell counselors looked uncomfortable but said nothing. They did not want to interfere in internal Krell matters. Even the humans on the council were silent, unwilling to risk diplomatic incidents. "Come on, Kira," Marcus said quietly. "We are leaving." They walked out of the council chamber together. Behind them, Marcus could hear the Krell counselors already discussing how to remove Kira from the station permanently. His mind raced, trying to find a solution. That night, in her quarters, Kira broke down completely. I should not have let you help me, she sobbed. I am destroying your career. I am making your life difficult. I am exactly what they say I am. Filth, contamination. I ruin everything I touch. Stop, Marcus said firmly. Kira, look at me. She raised her head, her compound eyes reflecting the starlight from the window. You're not filth, Marcus said. You are one of the most brilliant people I have ever met. You survived in conditions that would kill most beings. You taught yourself advanced chemistry with no resources. You saved an entire station from disaster. And you developed a process that could change how the galaxy handles waste. But they will never see that, Kira whispered. They will only ever see my shell. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he told her about Earth's history, about slavery, about segregation, about how humans had once judged each other by the color of their skin, about how some people fought against that injustice, even when it cost them everything. Change is hard, Marcus said. It is painful. It makes people angry. But it is also necessary. And it starts with people who refuse to accept injustice, even when fighting it is dangerous. What if we lose? Kira asked. Then we lose knowing we did the right thing, Marcus said. But I do not plan to lose. I plan to show the galaxy who you really are, and I am going to do it in a way they cannot ignore. The next day, Marcus made a decision that would change everything. He compiled all of Kira's research, her calculations, her development notes. He added his own observations about her intelligence and character. Then he transmitted it all to the Galactic Science Council, along with a detailed report about the Krell caste, system, and its impact on scientific progress. He also included evidence that the station was using outcasts as slave labor in conditions that violated galactic safety standards. Within an hour, the station's communication systems were blocked by station security. Within 2 hours, guards were at Marcus's door with orders to arrest both him and Kira for theft of station resources and transmission of classified information. Marcus looked at Kira as the guards forced their way into the quarters. I am sorry, he said. I thought this would work. Kira smiled, a strange expression on her damaged face. You gave me hope, she said. You gave me a name. You showed me that I matter. Whatever happens now, that was worth it. As the guards dragged them away, Marcus made a silent promise. He would find a way to protect her. He would find a way to finish what they had started, because some things were worth fighting for, even against impossible odds. And Kira was definitely worth fighting for. Part 4. The Price of Freedom. The holding cells beneath the station's security center were cold and dark. Marcus sat in one cell, Kira in another across the narrow corridor. They could see each other through the transparent barriers, but could not touch or speak privately. Guards monitored their every word. This is my fault, Kira said for the 100th time. You should have left me in the tunnels. And you should stop blaming yourself, Marcus replied. I made my choice. I would make it again. A guard hit the barrier with his shock stick. Silence. No communication between prisoners. They sat in quiet after that, but Marcus's mind was racing. The station commander had made his intentions clear. Marcus would be deported back to human space with his reputation destroyed. Kira would be quietly disposed of to eliminate the evidence of abuse before any galactic investigation could begin. Marcus had sent his message to the Galactic Science Council, but the station had blocked all outgoing communications right after. He had no way of knowing if anyone had received it, no way of knowing if help was coming. Hours passed. Then something unexpected happened. The station shook, not from weapons or explosions, but from systems failing throughout the lower levels. Emergency alarms began blaring. The guards monitoring Marcus and Kira received urgent messages on their communicators. What is happening? One guard asked. The outcasts, another replied in shock. They have stopped working. All of them. The waste processing systems are backing up. Marcus felt a surge of hope. The outcasts were striking. They had been watching what happened to Kira, and they had found their own courage. The station commander arrived at the holding cells, his shell dark with rage. "This is your doing," he hissed at Marcus. "You have inspired rebellion among the workers." "They're not workers," Marcus said calmly. "They are slaves. And slaves eventually rebel. We can force them back to work," the commander said. "Can you?" Marcus asked. "How many guards do you have? How many outcasts are there? And how long can this station survive without waste processing?" The commander's antenna twitched with frustration. He knew Marcus was right. The station needed the outcasts more than the outcasts needed the station. If they all refused to work, the station would become uninhabitable within days. "Make them go back to work," the commander demanded. "You started this? End it." "Free Kira," Marcus said. "Give her full citizenship rights. Recognize her as a scientist. Do that, and I will talk to the outcasts." "Impossible," the commander spat. "I will not be dictated to by humans and outcasts." "Then enjoy your dying station," Marcus said. The commander left in fury, but Marcus knew he had won a small victory. The station was in crisis. That bought them time. But time for what? They were still locked up, still at the commander's mercy. Then Marcus's communicator, which the guards had confiscated, began buzzing in the evidence locker. A guard checked it, and his face went pale. "Sir," the guard said to his superior, "there is an incoming message. From the Galactic Science Council, and from 3 human vessels that just entered the sector." The station commander rushed back to the holding area. "What did you send them?" he demanded from Marcus. "The truth," Marcus said simply. "Everything you have been hiding. The abuse, the slave labor, the brilliant minds you have been wasting in toxic tunnels, and proof that you plan to murder Kira to cover it up." "You have no proof of that," the commander said. "Actually, I do," Marcus said. "I recorded our conversation when you visited me in medical care. The one where you said Kira would be quietly disposed of. I included that recording in my transmission." The commander's shell went completely white, a sign of shock in Krell. "You are lying, am I?" Marcus asked. "Want to bet your career on it?" Before the commander could respond, a new alarm sounded. This one was different. It was the alert for important vessels entering docking range. A guard called out, "Sir, a human diplomatic vessel is requesting permission to dock. They say they have orders to investigate reports of labor abuse." The commander looked between Marcus and the incoming messages. He was trapped, and everyone in the room knew it. If he refused the human ship, it would confirm the accusations. If he allowed them to dock, they would find evidence of everything Marcus had reported. "Release them," the commander finally said, pointing at Marcus and Kira. "But they are not to leave the station. This matter is not over. Barriers deactivated." Marcus immediately went to Kira and took her hands. "Are you okay?" "I am scared," Kira admitted. "What happens now?" "Now we fight," Marcus said. "But we do not fight alone anymore." They were escorted to the main docking bay under heavy guard. When they arrived, they found a scene of controlled chaos. The human diplomatic vessel had docked, and a full delegation was disembarking. At their head was a woman in an admiral's uniform, her bearing strong and confident. Admiral Sarah Chen surveyed the docking bay with sharp eyes. When she saw Marcus and Kira under guard, her expression hardened. "Dr. Marcus Webb?" she asked. "That is me," Marcus said. "And this is Dr. Kira, the scientist I told you about?" Admiral Chen looked at Kira with interest. "The one who developed the revolutionary waste processing system? The station is claiming she stole that research," the Krell commander interjected. "She is an outcast. She has no education. She could not possibly have created it." "I see," Admiral Chen said. She pulled out a data pad. "Interesting. Because the Galactic Science Council has reviewed the research Dr. Webb sent them. They have confirmed that the work is genuine, highly original, and worthy of immediate recognition. They have also noted that the calculations and methodology are consistent throughout, suggesting a single brilliant mind created them." She looked at Kira. "They would like to interview you, Dr. Kira, if that is acceptable." Kira looked at Marcus, who nodded encouragingly. "I will answer their questions," Kira said quietly. "Excellent," Admiral Chen said. She turned to the station commander. Now about these labor abuse allegations, I will need access to the lower levels. All of them, including the waste processing tunnels. That is a restricted area, the commander said. For safety reasons. Of course, Admiral Chen said with a cold smile. Because it is so unsafe that you force unprotected workers to labor there without basic safety equipment or medical care. Yes, I read the report thoroughly. A crowd had gathered in the docking bay. Krell workers, human technicians, and representatives from a dozen other species all watched the confrontation. And word was spreading fast. The Admiral's words were being repeated throughout the station. The commander realized he was losing control of the situation. This is an internal Krell matter. You have no authority here. Actually, I do, Admiral Chen said. This station operates under a multi-species charter. That charter includes provisions against slavery and forced labor. Violations of those provisions give any charter member the right to intervene. She gestured to her security team. Now, you can cooperate with my investigation. Or I can declare this station in violation of galactic law and order a full evacuation while we conduct a thorough review. Your choice. The commander looked around at the crowd. He saw Krell workers watching with interest. He saw human personnel nodding in agreement with the Admiral. He saw his authority crumbling before his eyes. Fine, he said through clenched mandibles. You may conduct your investigation. But that creature, he pointed at Kira, is still subject to station justice for her violations. What violations? Admiral Chen asked sharply, leaving her designated area. Contaminating upper levels. Attempting to impersonate a scientist, Admiral Chen looked at him like he had lost his mind. She is a scientist. The Galactic Science Council just confirmed it. As for the rest, those are not violations of any law I recognize. They are merely violations of your bigoted social system. She turned to Marcus and Kira. You are both under human protection now. If anyone tries to harm you, they will answer to the full diplomatic and military might of Earth. Understood? The commander said nothing. His shell had gone dark again with rage, but he was helpless. He had lost. But then something unexpected happened. A group of Krell in pure caste colors stepped forward from the crowd. Marcus recognized them as the scientists who had tried to claim Kira's work as their own weeks ago. Admiral, their leader said, we would like to make a formal complaint that outcasts and the human have stolen Krell intellectual property. The waste processing system they claim she developed was actually our work. She merely observed and copied it. Admiral Chen raised an eyebrow. Is that so? And you can prove this? Of course, the Krell scientist said smoothly. We have all the original research notes, all properly documented and dated before the outcast's supposed invention. Marcus felt cold. They had prepared for this. They had created false documentation to steal Kira's work and discredit her at the same time. Admiral Chen looked at the Krell scientists. Then she looked at Kira. Dr. Kira, these scientists claim they developed your process. Do you have anything to say about that? Kira was shaking. She had never spoken to so many people at once. The crowd in the docking bay had grown to over 100 beings, all watching her. She started, her voice barely a whisper. Louder, one of the Krell scientists sneered. Or can you not defend your theft? Something changed in Kira's posture. Marcus saw it happen. She straightened, her damaged shell catching the light. When she spoke again, her voice was clear and strong. The process uses a 3-stage chemical cascade, Kira said. The first stage converts organic waste into methane through controlled bacterial decomposition. The second stage breaks down plastics using a catalytic thermal process that operates at exactly 287 degrees Celsius. The third stage neutralizes heavy metals through precipitation using a solution I, developed from tunnel fungus that naturally absorbs radiation. She turned to the Krell scientists. If you truly developed this process, you can tell me why the temperature must be exactly 287 degrees. 1 degree higher or lower, and the catalyst fails. Why is that? The Krell scientists looked at each other. None of them answered, because Kira continued. At 287 degrees. The carbon bonds in the plastic polymer break at the exact same rate that the methane from stage 1 is produced. This creates a perfect balance that prevents explosive pressure buildup. I discovered this after 15 attempts that nearly killed me when the pressure blew out my containment vessels. She looked directly at the lead Krell scientist. You claim this is your work? Then show me your scars. Show me the burns from the explosions. Show me the damaged hands from building the equipment. Show me any proof that you suffered to create this. The scientist had no answer. Admiral Chen smiled. I think we have our answer, she said. Dr. Kira, the Galactic Science Council, would like to offer you a research position at their primary facility. They are also offering you full protection and citizenship under galactic scientific exchange laws. Kira looked at Marcus. He nodded, smiling. Take it, he said. This is your chance? What about you? Kira asked. I will be fine, Marcus said. This is your future. Go and show them what you can do. Admiral Chen stepped forward. There is one more thing, she said. Dr. Kira, for your revolutionary work in waste processing and your courage in exposing abuse, the Galactic Science Council is awarding you the Kepler Prize for Scientific Innovation. A gasp went through the crowd. The Kepler Prize was one of the most prestigious awards in galactic science, and it had just been awarded to someone the Krell had labeled as an untouchable outcast. The station commander looked like he might collapse. The pure caste scientists backed away in shock, and throughout the station, in the dark tunnels below, outcasts heard the news and dared to hope. Change had come to the Zothran station, and it had arrived in the form of a scarred Krell female and a stubborn human who refused to accept injustice. As Admiral Chen's team began escorting Marcus and Kira toward the diplomatic vessel, Kira looked back at the tunnels where she had spent most of her life. She thought of the others still down there, still suffering. Wait, she said. I cannot leave. Not yet. What do you mean? Admiral Chen asked. Kira pointed toward the lower levels. There are others. Hundreds of them. Living in conditions like I did. If I leave, what happens to them? Admiral Chen looked at her with respect. We will address that. The investigation will help them. Investigations take time, Kira said firmly. They do not have time. They are dying down there. Every day, more of them die. She turned to the crowd that had gathered. To her surprise, she saw Krell of all castes watching, some with disgust, but some with curiosity, and a few with something that might have been shame. Kira raised her voice. I am specimen 7719, the Krell you call too filthy to touch. But I have a name now. I am Kira, and I am not alone in suffering. There are hundreds like me in the tunnels below. They deserve names too. They deserve lives too. They deserve to be seen as people, not as waste disposal tools. The crowd was silent. Then, from somewhere in the back, a voice called out, Let them come up. Give them a chance. It was a young Krell worker. Others began to murmur. The call was taken up by more voices. Not all of them, but enough. The station commander tried to restore order, but the moment had passed. Change was happening, and even he could not stop it. Admiral Chen put a hand on Kira's shoulder. You know what you have just done? She asked quietly. Started a revolution? Kira guessed. Exactly, Admiral Chen said, smiling. Welcome to the fight, Dr. Kira. Something tells me you are going to change more than just waste processing systems. As they walked toward the diplomatic vessel, Marcus stayed close to Kira. Are you ready for this? He asked. No, Kira admitted. But that has never stopped me before. Marcus laughed. Good answer. Come on, let us go show the galaxy what you can do. Behind them, the station began to change. It would be a long process. There would be resistance. There would be setbacks. But for the first time in thousands of years, the outcasts of the Zothran station had hope, and hope once lit is very hard to extinguish. Part 5. A name among the stars. The journey to the main docking bay should have been simple. Admiral Chen's security team had cleared a direct path. But as Marcus and Kira walked through the station corridors with the Admiral, alarms began sounding throughout the facility. Security lockdown, a Krell guard announced over the communication system. All passages to the docking bay are sealed. Authorization code required for passage. Admiral Chen's expression hardened. They are trying to prevent us from leaving. Can they do that? Marcus asked. It's not legally, the Admiral said. But legality and reality are sometimes different things. The group stopped at a sealed blast door. The station commander appeared on a view screen nearby, his shell still dark with anger. Admiral Chen, he said coldly, there has been a misunderstanding. Specimen 7719 is subject to multiple criminal charges. She cannot leave the station until those charges are resolved. What charges? The Admiral demanded. It's theft of station resources, unauthorized access to restricted areas, destruction of station property, and incitement of labor disruption. The commander's antenna twitched with satisfaction. These are serious crimes under station law. This is absurd, Marcus said. She did not steal anything. She created something new. Using station materials, the commander countered. Materials that belong to the station. Therefore, her invention belongs to us. And we are charging her with theft for attempting to claim it as her own. She had been foolish to think she could escape. The system was designed to keep beings like her in their place. One human admiral could not change thousands of years of tradition. But Admiral Chen surprised her. The Admiral smiled, a cold and dangerous expression. Commander, she said, I am going to give you one chance to reconsider. Open these doors and allow us to leave peacefully. Or what? The commander asked. You have no authority here. Open them, the Admiral repeated. Or I will, the commander laughed. You and what army, Admiral? Admiral Chen pulled out her communicator. Captain Rodriguez, you are authorized to proceed. On the view screen, the commander's expression changed as he received urgent reports. What are you doing? 3 human vessels are currently in position around this station, Admiral Chen said calmly. 2 are diplomatic ships. 1 is a heavy cruiser. If these doors are not open in 60 seconds, that cruiser will begin broadcasting your labor practices to every ship within 100 light-years, complete with video evidence, testimony from witnesses, and detailed records of abuse. You are bluffing, the commander said, but his voice was uncertain. 50 seconds, the Admiral said, and when that broadcast goes out, every species in the galaxy will know what the Krell have been hiding. Your trade agreements will collapse. Your allies will abandon you, and the Galactic Council will have no choice but to intervene. The commander's shell went pale. You would destroy us? No, Admiral Chen said. You destroyed yourselves the moment you decided to treat living beings as disposable waste. I am just making sure everyone knows about it. 40 seconds. Kira watched in amazement as the human admiral faced down the entire station authority without flinching. This was what courage looked like. This was what it meant to fight for justice. 30 seconds, the admiral continued. And Commander, I should mention that several major news organizations are waiting for my signal. This story will be on every major network within the hour. Your personal role in the abuse will be prominently featured. The view screen went dark. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a hiss of releasing pressure, the blast doors began to open. Move quickly, Admiral Chen said. They might change their minds. The group rushed through the opening doors. But as they entered the final corridor to the docking bay, they found their path blocked by a crowd of Krell, not guards, regular workers. Hundreds of them, filling the corridor from wall to wall. Marcus stepped protectively in front of Kira. Let us pass, he said. The crowd did not move. For a long moment, there was tense silence. Then one of the Krell in the front stepped forward. It was an older female, her shell marked with the colors of a mid-level technician. We heard what you did, she said, looking at Kira. We heard how you spoke in front of everyone. How you stood up to the purecasts. Kira did not know what to say. She had never spoken to this many Krell at once. The technician continued. My daughter works in the lower levels. Not in the waste tunnels, but close enough. She has always been talented with machines, but because her shell has a small discoloration, she is forbidden from advancing. She will never be allowed to do more than basic repairs. The technician's voice grew stronger. But you showed us something today. You showed us that shell color does not determine worth. That someone from the lowest level can create things that even the pure castes cannot understand. She stepped aside, and the crowd parted, creating a clear path to the docking bay. Go, the technician said. Go and show the galaxy what you can do. And maybe someday the rest of us will find the courage to do the same. Kira felt tears forming again. Thank you, she whispered. As they walked through the crowd, something remarkable happened. The Krell workers began to bow, not in subservience, but in respect. One by one, they acknowledged Kira as an equal. Some even reached out to touch her damaged shell gently. Rejecting years of conditioning that said she was contaminated by the time they reached the docking bay, word had spread throughout the station. More beings had gathered. Not just Krell, but humans and members of a dozen other species. They watched as Kira and Marcus approached the diplomatic vessel. But the station commander had one final card to play. He appeared in person, flanked by armed guards. I cannot let you take her, he said desperately. If she leaves, if this story spreads, it will destroy everything we have built. Our society will collapse. Admiral Chen faced him without fear. Then maybe it deserves to collapse. Maybe you should have built something better. Please, the commander said, and there was genuine fear in his voice now. You do not understand. If the lower castes rise up, there will be chaos, violence. People will die. People are already dying, Kira said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. In the tunnels, in the waste processing centers, in all the places you pretend not to see, they die every day because you have decided their lives are worth less than your comfort. She stepped closer to the commander, this being who had held absolute power over her entire life. I should hate you, she said. You and everyone like you. You took everything from me. My childhood. My chance at a normal life. The commander looked uncomfortable, unable to meet her eyes. But I do not hate you, Kira continued, because Marcus taught me something. He taught me that change comes not from hate, but from refusing to accept injustice. From standing up and saying this is wrong, even when it is dangerous. From believing that everyone deserves dignity. She looked out at the crowd. I am leaving this station. But I am not running away. I am going to become the best scientist I can be. I am going to prove that beings like me deserve respect. And someday, I will come back. Not to take revenge, but to help others like me find their own voices. The crowd erupted in cheers. Not everyone joined in. Many Krell still looked disgusted or angry, but enough voices rose in support that the commander knew he had lost. Let them go, he said quietly to his guards. There is no point anymore. As Kira and Marcus boarded the diplomatic vessel, Kira looked back one more time at the station where she had spent most of her life. She thought of the tunnels, the suffering, the loneliness. But she also thought of the hope she had seen in the workers' eyes. The change that was beginning? Ready? Marcus asked. Yes, Kira said. I am ready. The vessel departed from the station, carrying Kira toward a future she had never imagined possible. 3 years passed. The Galactic Science Council chamber was the most prestigious lecture hall in known space. Scientists from hundreds of worlds gathered here to share discoveries and advance knowledge. Today it was filled to capacity, with beings standing in the aisles and watching through remote feeds. At the podium stood Dr. Kira Webb. Her shell was still scarred, still marked by her years in the tunnels. But she wore those scars with pride now. They were proof of what she had survived. What she had overcome, the Kepler Prize, she said. Holding the crystal award that represented the highest honor in galactic science is given to those who advance our understanding of the universe. I am deeply honored to receive it. She looked out at the audience. In the front row sat Marcus, beaming with pride. Beside him was Admiral Chen, and next to them, 50 beings of various species, all wearing student uniforms. All former outcasts who had joined Kira's research program. But this prize is not just mine, Kira continued. It belongs to everyone who believed I was worth saving when I could not save myself. It belongs to the human who gave me a name when I was just a number. It belongs to the admiral who risked diplomatic incidents to protect me. And it belongs to every being who has ever been told they are worthless because of how they look or where they were born. She activated a holographic display behind her. It showed the Zothran station, but it looked different now. The lower levels had been renovated. The waste tunnels had been converted into proper research facilities. The outcasts had been given real quarters, real safety equipment, and real opportunities. Change is possible, Kira said. 3 years ago, the Krail government officially abolished the caste system under pressure from the Galactic Council. It was not easy. There was resistance. There were protests. Some still cling to the old ways. The display changed to show a young Krell female working in a clean, well-lit laboratory. Her shell had a slight discoloration, marking her as what would have once been an outcast. But there is also hope, Kira said. That is Tira. She is 15 years old. 3 years ago, she would have been sent to the waste tunnels to die. Today, she is studying chemistry at the Galactic Academy. She has already published 2 papers on chemical engineering. The display showed more images. Outcasts working as scientists, engineers, teachers, living in clean quarters, building families. Having futures? We have made progress, Kira said. But there is more work to do. There are other species with caste systems. Other stations where beings suffer in darkness. Other people who need someone to see them, to give them a chance to help them rise. She looked directly at the camera broadcasting her speech across the galaxy. If you are watching this from a dark place, if you have been told you are worthless, if you believe there is no hope for you, I want you to know something. You are not alone. You are not worthless. And change is possible. Kira held up a small datapad. I am establishing the Webb Foundation, named after the human who saved me. Its mission is to identify and support brilliant minds who have been denied opportunities because of prejudice. To give them education, resources, and a chance to show what they can do. She smiled. And I am placing this datapad in a public archive. It contains my contact information. If you are in a dark tunnel somewhere, working with materials that are killing you, surviving on hope alone, reach out. We will find you. We will help you. Because everyone deserves a name. Everyone deserves a future. The audience erupted in applause. It started with the humans and spread until beings from dozens of species were standing, cheering for the scarred Krell female who had become one of the most respected scientists in the galaxy. After the ceremony, Kira stood at a window in the council building looking out at the stars. Marcus joined her, as he often did. How does it feel? He asked. Being famous? Strange, Kira admitted. Sometimes I still expect to wake up in the tunnels and discover this was all a dream. It is real, Marcus said. You made it real. You and your brilliant mind. Kira was quiet for a moment. I got a message today, she said. From the Zothran station, the commander has been removed from his position. The new commander is that technician who let us pass 3 years ago. She wants to hire me as a consultant to redesign their entire waste processing system. Will you do it? Marcus asked. Yes, Kira said. I told you I would go back. Not for revenge, but to help. She turned to look at Marcus. Thank you, she said, for everything. For my name. For my future. For showing me that I mattered. Marcus smiled. I did not give you those things, Kira. I just helped you see that they were already yours. You gave yourself a future by being brilliant and brave and refusing to give up. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Out there somewhere, a young outcast was finding a datapad left by a stranger, reading a message of hope, learning that change was possible and the cycle would continue. One name at a time, one future at a time. One light in the darkness at a time. 5 years after that ceremony, the Galactic Council passed the Webb Accords, a comprehensive set of laws banning caste-based discrimination across all member species. It was named after Dr. Kira Webb, whose work had inspired the legislation. 10 years later, the first former outcast was elected to the Krell High Council. She ran on a platform of education reform and won by a landslide. 15 years later, Kira's revolutionary waste processing system was used on over 10,000 stations and colony worlds, providing clean energy and reducing pollution across the galaxy. 20 years later, Dr. Kira Webb was invited to speak at the Galactic Peace Summit. She stood before representatives of every major species and said, "Peace begins when we recognize the worth of every individual. When we refuse to judge by appearance or origin, when we give everyone the chance to shine." And in the waste tunnels of a distant station, far from the center of galactic civilization, a young being of an unknown species found a datapad. On it was a message. You are not your circumstances. You are not your designation. You are brilliant. You are worthy. Contact the Webb Foundation at these coordinates. We are waiting to help you build your future. The young being looked at the datapad for a long time. Then, with trembling hands, they began to type a response. And somewhere, in a clean laboratory filled with students from 100 worlds, Dr. Kira Webb smiled. Her shell was older now, the scars faded but still visible. She wore them proudly, a reminder of where she had come from and how far she had traveled. Marcus, now old and gray but still sharp-minded, appeared on her communication screen. "Another one?" he asked, seeing her expression. "Another one," Kira confirmed. "A species I have never heard of. Living in conditions that sound worse than my tunnels were. What will you do?" Kira's smile widened. "What we always do? We will help them. We will give them a name. We will give them a future," good Marcus said. "That is what we do best." The communication ended, and Kira turned back to her work. There was always more to do. More beings to help. More minds to free from darkness. More futures to build, but that was fine, because she had learned something important in her journey. From the tunnels to the stars, one person could make a difference. One act of kindness could change everything. One name could light up the darkness. She had been specimen 7,719, too filthy to touch. Now, she was Dr. Kira Webb, one of the most respected scientists in the galaxy, and she had helped hundreds of others make the same journey from darkness to light. The work would continue. The fight for dignity and justice would go on. But for now, in this moment, Kira allowed herself to feel something she had never felt in those dark tunnels. Peace. She was no longer running from her past. She had transformed it into purpose. Her scars had become her strength. Her suffering had become her mission. And somewhere in the galaxy, another being was reading her message and daring to hope that, Kira thought, was the best legacy. Anyone could leave. Not just surviving the darkness, but bringing light to others who still lived in it, one name at a time, one future at a time, one brilliant mind at a time. The stars shone bright through her window, and Dr. Kira Webb got back to work.